View after free version 2.0, up from version 1.4 previously, and this has a number of new features added, like stability improvements for the net control exploit. We have a fully remote installer, which requires an internet connection or separate PC, extended storage install method, theme support, and also a light mode as well, so quite a few new features added in this release. But the main one I want to focus on in this video is the extended storage install method, which can allow you to install this jailbreak without having to reset your console, whereas previously you had to reset your console by restoring a backup file if you have a retail console that you were trying to install this on, which would make you lose all of your installed save files, as well as your applications and anything you had on your PS4 previously, whereas with this method, you can actually get the full jailbreak setup without resetting your console, so you can keep everything that is currently on your console. But this method does have a few requirements. For one, you need to have an extended storage drive, so a USB drive of some kind that is at least 260 gigabytes of capacity or more, and you will also need to have an activated account on your PS4. So you can check to see if you have an activated account by switching over to your PS4, logging out of your current profile that you're signed into, and then at this point, before you actually sign into any of your profiles, you want to press the Options button over your profile, and if you see this menu pop up saying Appear Offline or Online, that means the account is activated. So do that with each one of your accounts to see if you have this menu. If nothing pops up when you press the Options button on any of the accounts, then that means you do not have an activated account on your console, in which case the only option is to restore the backup file if it's a retail console. Without a previous jailbreak, you'll just have to restore the backup file and use that method in my main tutorial, which I'll leave linked in the video description. But if any of your profiles appear with this menu, you will then be able to use this extended storage method instead. So sign into one of the profiles that is activated on your console. And at first you can set this jailbreak up on a PS4 that's on system software version 13.00 or lower. Now we can switch on over to the computer again and download the View Extended Storage 7 zip file for the installation. We also want Balena Etcher as well, this software, which I'll leave linked in the video description, so download that as well. Then what we're going to do is open up the 7-zip file, so you'll need 7-zip or WinRAR. I'll also leave a link to that in the description, and then open up the View Extended Image 7-zip file here, and extract this PSV 256GB zip file over to your desktop. So we're going to go ahead and copy that over, like this. Then we're going to open up Balena Etcher. You want to plug in your USB drive that has enough capacity on it for this image, so 256 gigabytes or larger, but I would say 260, because some 256 gigabyte drives do not actually have the full 256 gigabytes of capacity. They're a little bit short, even if it is advertised as a 256 gigabyte drive. So I would recommend going with one at least 260 gigs or more. So then we can select Flash from File, and we want to select this zip file here that we extracted as the file that we want to select in Etcher. It will say Missing Partition Table. We'll just click Continue, and then select Target, and then you want to select your target drive, so your USB storage drive of some kind that has enough space on it. So I'm using a 1 terabyte drive here. So I'm going to go ahead and select the drive, select it, and then click Flash. And then we will say, yes, I'm sure. Obviously back up any data that was previously on the drive, because this will erase the content that's currently on your USB drive. So we'll say, yes, I'm sure, and let it do its thing. Now it can get stuck on a certain percentage, like 0% for a long time, but just leave it and wait for it to finish. It will eventually progress and flash the entire thing. Okay, so it's finished flashing to the drive. Now it's doing the validating step. I'm just going to skip that for now. I'll know if it works or not when I plug it in to the PS4. Okay, so now that we've done that, we want to switch over to the PS4. Do not plug in the USB drive yet, because we need to set up our network settings. So firstly, we're going to head over to our settings, go to Network, set up an internet connection, use what you normally use, Wi-Fi or LAN cable, and then use a custom setup. I'm going to use a LAN cable in this case. So we're going to select Custom Setup. We're going to do Automatic IP, do not specify DHCP, and then we want to do a manual DNS. And for the DNS address, you can put in 127.0.0.2, which will block the internet but still give you network access. Now we do need full internet access just to use the installer to download the exploit, but we also don't want the application to update while we're trying to get things ready, so just use this DNS address for now. So we're going to go ahead and say automatic for everything else, do not specify proxy, and the internet settings have been updated. Now also we want to head down to our system settings here, automatic downloads, and make sure all of these boxes are unchecked, so it will not automatically try to install the game update as soon as we get the application on the console. Okay, so now that we are all good there, we should be able to unplug our USB drive or external hard drive from the computer and plug it into the PS4. Now, when I plug it into the PS4, it should automatically detect the PlayStation View application on the drive, and it will appear here. And if we press the options button and we go to information, you can see it's on version 1.24. It's very important it stays on version 1.24. So if your console starts trying to update the PlayStation View application to a new version, make sure you cancel the update before it installs. So now we just need to move this over to the system storage by going to the settings page, scrolling down to storage, and then go to extended storage, applications, and then press the options button over the PlayStation View application and move to system storage, select it, and then click move and say OK, and that will move it over to the system storage so it will no longer be on the extended storage drive. At this point, you can hold down the PS button and then go over to sound and devices and then scroll down to stop using extended storage and press X on that to disconnect the drive. So there we go, you've stopped using extended storage, and now we still have the application showing up because it's now moved to the internal storage instead. So that's how you get the PlayStation View application on the right version on your console without restoring a backup file. So we're going to launch the PlayStation View application here and see what happens. We just want to wait for it to say, give us some kind of error message or just get stuck here on the PlayStation View screen, as you can see here. That's fine. So once we've launched it, we can go ahead and close it. So now we need a USB drive. This can be a different USB drive to the one that you used for the extended storage image, or it can be the same drive. Okay, so back on the computer, if you're going to use the same drive that you used for the PlayStation View application, then we can right-click on the Start menu here on Windows, and then head to Disk Management. And then when we go to Disk Management, you can see it detects the drive here. We'll select MBR for Master Boot Record and click OK. And that will initialize the disk. And then here it is down here. I'm just going to right-click on the drive and create a new simple volume and click Next and Next again. Next again, change the file system to AXFAT or FAT32, and change the volume label to something like USB, click Next and Finish, and that should set up the USB drive again to work on the computer, so it's no longer an extended storage drive for the PS4. So now we can plug that USB drive back into the PS4. Okay, so now comes the second part of the setup, which is getting the save file prepared. We need the modified save file that can install the exploit so we can use this version of PlayStation View to jailbreak the console. So to do this, we need to head into our settings, scroll down to Application Saved Data Management, save data in system storage, and copy to USB storage device. And we want to select the PlayStation View application data that's in here and copy this out. This will only be in here if you have launched PlayStation View at some point on the console, and that will allow this save file to be created, and we'll go ahead and copy that out to the USB drive. Now we can unplug the USB drive again and plug it back into our computer. Okay, so once again, we're going to open up the extended storage file and go into the Online Save Resign section. And in here, we have this CUSA00960 folder. We're going to copy that out to our desktop. This is the save file for PlayStation View that contains the jailbreak setup, but it's currently signed to the wrong profile. We need to re-sign this save file to our account in order to get it to work on our PS4 with our account. So there's a few different ways you can do this. You can obviously use another jailbroken PS4 with the Apollo Save tool to re-sign the save file, or you can use, one of the Discord save bots or the Save Wizard application. So I'll show you a couple of options for re-signing the save. Okay, so to use the Discord save bots, you basically need to join the HTUS Discord server. I'll leave a link to it in the video description. And then you simply go into the HTO section here, see how many safe bots are online, which ones are online. Unfortunately, there's only one online right now, but you would find one that is online and then find the instance creator, the thread creator for that particular bot. And then you can click create a thread. and then wait for that to do its thing, and then it will create a new thread for your profile here that you can click on, and then you can start interfacing with the bot itself. So in order to actually use this, we're going to type in /, and this will give you the different commands, and we want the resign command. So we want the resign command for the correct bot, which in this case is this one, so match the profile to this one here. So this is the correct resign command for this bot. So I'm going to select this one here, and then we want the PlayStation_ID, and normally this wants an account name, a username, but in this case, we don't have an account name, we just have the profile ID. So what we do is we go to the USB drive, and then we have this PS4 folder, save data, and then we have the account ID here. So this folder is your account ID. You're going to rename it and copy the name of that ID, and then simply paste it in here as your PlayStation account ID, and then just press enter. And then the bot should think it over, and it'll say, hey, that's not a valid PlayStation username, and I'll say, please now paste in your actual account ID instead in the next 300 seconds. So just paste in the account ID and press enter, and then it should obtain it correctly. And now it says, please attach your save files that you want to resign to that account ID. So in this case, we're going to select the save files from the view extended storage that we extracted to the desktop. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag these two files directly in right here and upload them. They should be small enough to upload directly via Discord. So I'm going to go ahead and upload those two files and then let it do its thing. So there it goes, resigning process, successful, and there we go. It now gives us the zip file download of our resigned save, so we can click download, continue to download, and that will download it on my computer. And if I open up that download, you can see we have a PS4 folder that contains the resigned save. So all we have to do now is simply copy this PS4 folder to our USB drive. So if I go back to this save data on the USB, I can delete this PS4 folder that we exported from our console and simply go ahead and copy the one that we got from the Discord bot, the PS4 folder, to the root of the USB drive. And that is how we get our resigned save file all ready to go. So that's probably the easiest option, is to just use one of those discard safe bolts if you have one available. So another option is to use this garlicsaves.com. This is something new that's been created by Earth Onion, which effectively is the same as the Discord save bots, except it's effectively a web panel version instead. You can use this, you set up an account. So when you create an account on Garlic Saves, you can effectively just create just from profiles and add the account ID. So I've created a PS View profile here, and I'll paste in my account ID from the save file that I exported to the USB drive on my console, and then I'll add that profile in, and there we go, that is now added. So now I can go to the resign section, select that profile, and then add my save files in here. So of course the save files I want are these ones here, the ones from the view exploit, and what I'm going to do is again just upload those, see if I can just drag and drop them in. Yes, I can, perfect. And then simply just go ahead and click Start Resign, and let it do its thing. So job resign queued. It's now running, starting resign, files downloaded, extracting, resigning the save files, uploading the results, and boom, there we go, resign done, download result. And that should download our resign save file, so I can open this up. And there we go, we now have this resigned save files. So all I need to do is go over to my USB drive and then go back into the save file that I exported, and then simply delete these files in here and replace the save files with the ones that were resigned using Garlic Saves. And that is how you get that installed as well. Now the final option, of course, is to use the Save Wizard application. If you have that available, that's a paid application for resigning and applying modified save files to your console. So if you have the Save Wizard application and you have your profile added with the account ID, then you can also use that as well. Basically, you just take the save file that you exported, the CUSA folder, and use 7-zip to add that to a zip file. Make sure it's a zip file, and go ahead and create that zip. Once the zip file is added here, you can simply open up Save Wizard, plug in the USB drive. If it's already plugged in, you'll have to unplug it and plug it back in for the USB to be detected here, and Save Wizard. And then you can go to the Resign section and click on Import, and then simply select that zip file for the save, expand it here, select the save file inside, and then click on Import, and then apply it to your profile, which will reassign it to that account ID. And once it's done, it says resigning is successful, so we can click OK. So it should now be available here, and as you can see, it's created the PS4 folder, and we are good to go. So those are a few different ways that you can get the save file re-signed to your account. Okay, so one last thing is we need to get the payload installed for the jailbreak, which is the Gold Hen payload. I'll leave a link to this in the description. So we open up the 7-zip file using 7-zip or WinRAR and extract the goldhen.bin file to the root of the USB drive, and then simply rename the file to payload.bin in lowercase characters. It should be in the root of the drive, not inside any existing folders. And also, if we go to View, Show in Windows Explorer, make sure file name extensions is ticked so you can ensure that the file name is correct, payload.bin, all in lowercase characters. And now we can unplug that USB drive and plug it in to our PS4. Okay, so we're on the home stretch now, so all we need to do is go into the settings, scroll down to Application Save Data Management, and then simply go over to Save Data in USB Storage, copy to System Storage, select the PlayStation View application data here, and copy that over to the system storage, which will get the modified save file installed. So now we're at the point where we need internet access to be able to use the installer. So go back to your network settings, set up an internet connection, use custom settings again, and change the DNS server, this time to 62.210.38.117. This should block updates while still giving you internet access, but sometimes your ISP or router settings can override it and still give you updates. So if you check for updates on PlayStation View and it tries to download the update file, make sure you go to your downloads and pause it to stop it from downloading. So we're going to go ahead and run the PlayStation View application. And then when we run it here, there we go, we get welcome to View after free installer. Which version would you like to install? So you have the option to use the light install or the full install. The full install will give you the whole menu, so the whole jailbreak menu with the config option and the ability to load payloads with the payload menu. That's what you get with the full installation. The light installation will just install the exploit loader and nothing else. So whenever you run PlayStation View, it will just try to run the jailbreak and then automatically close the application afterwards. That's all it will do. So it's up to you which one you want. If you want to use the menu, go with the full installation. If you want just the quickest way to load the jailbreak and nothing else, then install the light version. So I'm going to go ahead and just do the full install for now. And we'll select that option. And there you go. You can see it's starting to download. This is why we needed the internet connection for this version, for this setup. And there we go. Install is now complete. So it was able to use the internet connection to download the exploit itself, the full menu. And we're now up and running with View after free. If you were receiving updates from PlayStation View, you can now change your DNS settings back to 127.0.0.2 now that we've finished using the installer. But the jailbreak should still work now because we do have the exploit installed, so you can still launch it and get it going here. Okay, so at this point we can try and run the jailbreak by selecting jailbreak with X, and it should detect the firmware your console's on and try to run the jailbreak here. So that was successful, just took a bit longer than usual. And there we go, we are up and running. It detects the Gold Hen payload on the USB drive there, and it's now loaded it. It will also copy it to the internal storage, so it does not have to be loaded from the USB drive anymore. It will just load it from the internal storage now in future. And you can see we have jailbreak success, which is fantastic. So we can go ahead and close out of PlayStation View, and you can see we have Gold Hen running, and we are up and running with the jailbreak. Now, a few other things that you can do, of course, if we go back into PlayStation View, if you're getting the network sign-in prompt every time you load up PlayStation View, it says, that you have to be signed into PlayStation Network, and you just click OK, and it loads the menu. You can get rid of that prompt by going into the payload menu here, and then selecting the fake signin.bin file, but make sure you only do this if you are running into this error. If this error message does not pop up about being signed into PlayStation Network, do not run this payload. But if you are getting that error message, you can run this payload, and that will basically fake sign in the account. So when you restart the console, you'll no longer get that prompt when you run the PlayStation View application. So that's something you can do there. You can also go into the config settings and set up the autoloader. You can set it to automatically close the application once the jailbreak is complete. You can also make it autoload a specific jailbreak. If you're on 12.02 or below, you can autoload lapse and set the jailbreak behavior to lapse. If you're on 12.50 or higher, then you're going to want to select auto poop instead and change the jailbreak behavior to net control. And that is how you set that up. And then when you next go to load the jailbreak, instead of giving you the menu, it will just auto-load the jailbreak itself, or you can switch it out for the light version instead. So that is basically how you get things set up there. Now, I'm not going to go into detail like my full tutorials on how to set up Gold 10 fully, so if you want to learn how to set up and use all of the features in Gold 10, check out my main jailbreak tutorial, which covers the backup method. And the second half of that video is all about how to set up the jailbreak with Gold 10 and get everything installed and configured and use all of those different features. So you can check out that video linked down in the description. So anyway, that's going to do it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed this one.